Hi everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet my goblin pattern. In this tutorial you will learn how to make the base goblin, including some shorts. Let's get into the materials. So for our wool, we're going to use double knit wool. We're going to have green for the base of the goblin. We're going to have brown for the shorts of the goblin, a size 3mm crochet hook. A needle of your choice. I just use a metal one, but a plastic one does also work. Some scissors and safety eyes. For this tutorial I am using 5mm safety eyes, and you'll obviously need the backs for those as well. So we're going to start with green wool. Now I'm going to just do this way round, so you need to hold your long end in your hand like this, pinch it there, you're going to loop over, and you can see you're forming this little X shape. It's just like that. Then you need to pinch this, and still with the long end you need to push it down, so then you can poke it the other end through like that. So that's ends now there. Now you need to hold the shorter end and pull that tight, and that is how you make a slip knot. Now I'm going to move the wool to my right hand side because that's how I'm going to be crocheting. The long end should now be able to pull it smaller. So let's take our 3mm crochet hook, we're going to stick it in there, we're going to pull that tight, and then we're going to do a chain. So for a chain, you grab your long end, you loop it over the top, so then it's above that slip knot that we just made, and then you're going to pull that down so it loops through. You're going to do that 5 times, sorry. So 1, 2, 3, loop over, 4, and 5. So now you can see these V's along the side, and you can count there's 5 there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you turn it over, you can see these little lumps on the back of it. These are all back loops, and this is where the next few steps will be worked. So if you go into that first back loop, to help you out, I do recommend grabbing your needle, and I'm just going to pull the crochet hook out a bit. And if you go into that stitch there, you can poke a little bit of a hole through it so you can see where you're going into. So it's that back loop on the back of the V's there. I'm going to grab our crochet hook, and we're going to pull that tight again using the long end. We're going to insert the hook into that stitch that we just found, and then we're going to do a slip stitch. So what we do is we loop our wool over the top, and we need to pull through both of those 2 loops that we just had, which was the back loop and the first loop that we started with when we were doing the chains. And that should make a little point at the end there. Then for the next stitch we need to go into the back loop again. What we're going to do is a single crochet, so we're going to loop over, we're going to pull through, we're going to loop over again, and we're going to pull through both of those stitches. So now you're starting to increase a bit on the ear. Next we're going to do a half double crochet, so we're going to loop over, we're going to go back into that back loop there, we're going to loop over again, pull through, and we're going to loop over and pull through all of them stitches that we have. And now you can see we're definitely increasing. And then for this final stitch, I do recommend getting your needle out again, because this one's going to be quite difficult to get into if you don't. I'm just going to loosen that a bit, so you can see I'm loosening that gap. And then what we're going to do is we're going to loop over, go into that gap that we've just made there, going to loop over again, pull through, but just pull through that one. I'm going to loop over, pull through 2 of the marks, then you've still got 2 left, which will be the one connecting to the last half double crochet and the one that you just pulled through. And you're going to loop over and pull through both of those 2. And there we go, that's how you make one ear. I've made a second ear already, so now we're ready to move on to the next step. We just need to grab our scissors and cut it. So now we have an end to sew on. You just pull that through. So I'm going to put those to the side now, and then we're going to work on the nose. Right, so we're going to now work on the nose. What we need to do is a magic ring. So I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to make one of those. First, you need to put the wool in your left hand, and you need to make sure you've got enough slack for this, by the way. You need to strengthen it in your hand. Then you're going to hold this short end, pinch it, and what you need to do is go over the top of your finger, underneath, over the top, underneath, and over the top again. What you're going to do is you're just going to put your 2 fingers there just to hold that in place. Your middle finger and your thumb just to hold that loop in place. It doesn't want to be too tight because you've got to try and feed your crochet hook through this, but it doesn't want to be too loose that it's going to fall off. Then you're going to grab the crochet hook, you're going to go into that stitch, into both loops, into the final loop, and what you're going to do is you're going to point your crochet hook to yourself, pull that and turn upwards as you pull, and you're going to go through that one, down and through the last one. Then you're going to see you've got your long end, and that is just here. You're going to go underneath, turn it to face yourself, pull and turn up as you pull through the little hole. Now for this next step, we're just going to make 4 single crochets into this circle. So I'll run you through how to do that. You stick your hook through the circle, you pull your wool over the top, you pull through, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So you've made your first single crochet. I'll just go through that again. You go underneath, so you got those on your hook, you loop over, you pull through, you loop over, and you pull through 2. Now I just realised I said 4, you need to do this 3 times, so we're going to do it one more time. You loop over, pull through, loop over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Now for tightening, you just need to pull this end here, the short end, and you need to see which one's shrinking. So this one seems to get tighter. We're going to go closest to the end, and we're going to pull this shorter loop out. We're just going to make sure that has got enough length still, because it should be shortening this end. And then the short end, you need to pull this side of the loop in. That's going to pull this back loop in, and we're going to do it again. We're going to pull this short end. There we go. So it doesn't really look like it at the moment, but you've just made a little circle. Then we're going to get our hook, we're going to put it back through those loops, and we'll just pull the long end to tighten it again. Now this step is a bit tricky, so I recommend re-watching if you don't understand. So we're going to go under both of these 2, we've got like a little V there. We're going to go underneath both of those, just like that. We're going to loop over, we're going to pull through, we're going to loop over, and going to pull through both of those stitches. Then we've got another one there. It's quite difficult to see on here because it looks like you've got one there, but that's the one that you've just worked into. So when you see that one, you want to move across one and go there. So we're going to stick the hook in, going to pull this tight again just to make sure that we've got enough tightness on the hook. We're going to loop over, pull through, and then we're going to loop over, pull through to. Now for this I recommend just like pushing your finger down the middle of it, because it should pop it out a bit more so it's a bit easier to work with. And then for this final part of round 1, we've got this last stitch, so looks like you've got the stitch there, but you move along one, you've got the stitch there. You're going to push your crochet hook into that. It might take a bit of force. You can tighten it again. You're going to loop over. You're going to pull through. I'm just going to tighten it a bit because I don't think I tightened my first loop enough. You need to make sure this loop is tight for this bit. Then we're going to loop over and we're going to pull through too. And then we've got the next stitch, which is here. It doesn't look too bad now, but you might get confused with it being there, but it's here. We're going to stick our hook back under both of those loops. We're going to pull it tight again. We're going to loop over, pull through, loop over, pull through again. And we're going to actually do an increase in this stitch. So we're going to go back into the same stitch that you just worked in. You're going to loop over, pull through, loop over, pull through too. So that's going to be an increase. This is going to be quite a pivotal part of the pattern. You're going to have to do a lot of increases for this pattern. And a lot of single crochets. So then moving on to the next stitch, it should be very prominent now because you've just done an increase there. You're going to put your hook through, loop over, pull through, and loop over, pull through too. You're going to do this one more time in the next stitch, and then you've made your nose. There we go, look at that. So now we've got the nose. If you think your nose is still too fat at the end, just pull this short end tighter again, because it will pull it back in. So now what we need to do is grab our scissors again. We're just going to cut a bit of a longer end for this one than we did for the ear. And your loop here, you're just going to pinch the end and just feed it through until it's gone all the way through, so then it's held in place. Now we're going to move on to the head. So for the head, we're going to do another magic ring. I'll just give you another tutorial on how to do it. I'll go a bit faster than I did last time. So we're going to loop over your finger, hold it in place like that, and then we're going to just pinch it between your fingers there. We're going to put your crochet hook underneath. We're going to point it downwards. We're going to push up so it's facing you. Pull that through and turn up as you move through the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to go on this long end, loop over and pull that through there. Now we're just going to do 6 single crochets into this magic ring, and because I've already taught you how to do that, I'm just going to go through myself. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then what we need to do is we need to tighten it again. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull this end here, just going to pull it round, and this should shorten the front end again. You pull that up, and you're going to pull this end, which you're going to tighten the back loop again, and then you're going to pull the short, little cut off bit, and tighten it completely. Now for this, I recommend using a stitch marker. Now you don't have to have anything fancy. I just have a strand of white wool which I'm going to use. And how you're going to put this in place, you're just going to put your hook in, we're going to tighten it, and what we're going to do, we're going to stick that there. You can use one of the colours that you're going to use for the rest of the body because it doesn't matter. And then what we're going to do, we're just holding that in place there by holding it with our pinky, and the loop should just hold itself in place. If not, you can pinch it both sides of the piece. And then we're going to go into our first stitch. Now our first stitch is here, it should be right after this little tail end that we've got. So we're going to push our hook through, and we're going to do another increase. So we're going to loop over, pull through, loop over, pull through both the stitches on the hook. I'm going to push in again into the same stitch, going to loop over, pull through, loop over and pull through both on the stitch. Then we're going to do that 5 more times, and that should take us up to 12 stitches around. I'll show you how to count your stitches once I've finished this round. As you can see, it does take a little while. I've just messed up myself there. So I'm just going to fix my stitch there, pull it tight, I'm going to keep on going. So there's our second one. There's our third one. Oh, and don't worry if you do catch the end of this. Just try and end of your stitch marker. Just try and push it back where it was. It won't cause too much harm. It'll just make it a bit more difficult to remove once you finish the head. This white wool will not be staying for the entirety of the well, once it's finished, you just take that stitch out. It just pulls out, and I'll show you how to do that. Now I'm just finishing up the last stitch here. Now I'm going to teach you how to count your rounds. So you see the V's on this design here. Sorry, my wool is chasing after me. I'm just going to put it to my side. So you see these stitches here. You see the little V's. Each one of those V's is a stitch you've made. So we'll just count them round. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now for the next round, we'll be on round 3. We're going to put our hook through the stitches. Gonna loop over. Oh, and by the way, you need to push your stitch marker back down now. So this end, you just throw it back down, and then you'll go into the stitch right next to it, which should be here. It might be a bit smaller than the other stitches, but that's normal. You loop over, pull through. I'm just going to do a single crochet into the first 3 stitches. And then for the 4th stitch, we're going to do an increase. So we'll go into the stitch, loop over, pull through 2, loop, oh, into the stitch, loop over, pull through 2. I'm going to do that 3 times, so 3 single crochets and increase 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to increase again, so 1 and, oh, caught the end, 1 and 2. I'm going to do our final one, so that will make 3 in total. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then this last stitch is going to be an increase. Now we're going to pull the tail end back through, up and over, and for the next 3 rounds we're just going to single crochet in each stitch around 3 times. So I'll just do the first round and then I'll skip ahead and I'll show you where we get to. So we've just reached the end of that round. We've done 3 rounds of single crochets now, so I'm going to teach you where to add the eyes. So if we look at our back stitch, you can see there that we've got this white mark here. So if you follow that round, it should be in this round here. So it's 4 down if you count from the top, 4 of these bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this round here. So what I like to do is I'll find the back row, the stitch marker, and find the other end. So I want it to be opposite. This is where the nose is going to be. So I'm just going to put my needle through there, so we've got a marker. And then for this, it's a bit awkward. So for one eye, we're going to go from there. We're going to go 1, 2. We're going to put one eye there. But then, because the spacing's a bit odd if you put one the other side, I like to go 3 the other way. So I go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stick the eye in there. So that marker is not exactly the middle, but it's like, this is where the nose is going to be, because you're going to have 1 point there, 1 up there, 1 there, and 1 there. And then to seal it off, we just grab our white backs and we're going to push them in there. And what you do is you just hold that black top bit with your finger and you just use your nails, push that down and push it into place. And then we're going to do the same with the other side. Now the eyes should be secure and we're ready to start sewing him closed. Well, start decreasing. Now we're going to learn a new stitch, which I just said is the decrease. But first we need to put our stitch marker back over and we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease. So you see our V's, we need to go into that first one and leave the back one there. So this is called the front loop. So we've got our V there. I've just gone into the first one. And then we're going to loop over and we're going to do that. It's a bit difficult to get it under, but you're going to go under the first loop of the next one across as well. And then from here it's basically going to be a single crochet. So you're going to loop over, you're going to pull through, you're going to loop over and pull through both those on your hook. Now you need to do this another 2 more times to make a total of 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to invisible decrease, so go into that loop, go into the next front loop, yarn over, pull through and pull through 2. And then we're going to do that 1 more time. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3, and then we're just going to do 1 more invisible decrease, so just back into that front loop times 2. I'm going to loop over, pull through, I'm going to loop over and pull through 2. Now for the next part I'm going to decrease all the way round. This is not an invisible decrease, this is a normal decrease. So I'm just going to flick my stitch marker back out. I'm going to push the hook back into the next stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to loop over and pull through, and then we're going to go into the next stitch. We're going to loop over and pull through, so you should have 3 stitches on your hook. And you're going to loop over and pull through all 3 of those, and then you're going to do that again. So you're going to go into the next stitch, loop over, going to go into the next stitch, loop over again, going to loop over and pull through both of those. Now you just got to do that 4 more times to make the decreases. And this will be the last round for the head. I will teach you how to sew the body's parts for the head onto it, as in the ears and the nose, and I will teach you how to sew this closed. Right, there we go. So I'm going to cut this now. I'm going to give it enough end so I've got enough room for sewing. And we're just going to pull that loop all the way to make sure we've reached our end. Now to remove your stitch marker, you just pull this long end and you're just going to pull it until it comes out. It might make a bit of a pop sound, but don't worry, there's nothing wrong. And then for this short end that we've got that's connected to the inside of the head, I just recommend cutting that because we don't need it. It's just what we were using for the magic ring. We'll just put that to the side. Right, so now I'm just going to grab the stuffing and we will stuff the head. So I've just grabbed my stuffing and we're going to stuff the head. So what you need to do is you need to go into the hole in the bottom of the head, and you don't need much stuffing because it is quite a small piece. But you need to try and, it takes a bit of effort. I recommend using your crochet hook if you've got a rubber one. But you just got to try and pile it in there a bit. I usually struggle with this step the most because working at this scale it's quite difficult, and you've got your wool which keeps on winding round if you keep on spinning it like I do. But we're nearly there. I might have actually put too much stuffing for this head, in honesty. We'll just finish it up. If you want to try and push the stuffing in, I do recommend pulling on the stitch, the long end that you've got, because it pulls up your crochet again. So now from this point I recommend just like moving it about, trying to readjust the eyes to where you want, to the angle that you want them at, because then you can see where you're missing stuffing, and it also shows how well, it helps with the end product. So there we go. Now we're going to pull that tight again. Next we're going to bring our needle, and we're just going to thread the end of the head onto the needle like that, pull that through, and we're going to sew close the head now. So what I would recommend doing is go round in a circle. So you go through the first stitch there, go through the second stitch there, same with the third, and the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. And then you just need to pull this so it closes that gap up. So it might take a bit of strength to pull it, but there we go. And then we're just going to push the needle through the middle of that and push it up anywhere we want on the head. So that's the head done. I'm just adjusting the eyes again because I want to make sure they're in the perfect place. I'm going to grab our scissors, go right up against that stitch, and we're just going to cut it. So there we go. Our goblins now have his head. We're just going to add the facial features now. So I'm going to start with the nose because the nose is the hardest bit to sew on. I'm going to grab the inside one, which is where we made our magic ring. We'll grab our needle, thread that through again, pull it, and push it into the head. So we want to go roughly the middle. I recommend just going slightly to the side, and you just want to poke it through to the back of the head, anywhere on the back. And then we need to find out where our increases were. So the best way to do this is find out where your last stitch was, because it will show. So we've got the stitch was here, and then we've got the increase, which would be the next stitch across. I'm just going to thread our needle back through, pull that through, and then how we're going to do this is we're going to go into the bottom of this. So the bottom will be here. The way you can work that out is if you put the nose stitch exactly where I put it, it will be to the left, sorry, to the right, and if you put it on the right hand side, it will be to the left and down. So we're just going to poke our needle through and poke it through to the right hand side. I'm going to pull that through, make sure it's pulled through all the way, and then we're going to go into the first one of the increases. We're just going to go into the front loop of that and pull that into the next stitch. I'm going to go to the side. I'm just going to push that one down, and then finally I'm going to catch this last stitch, push it through, and we'll just push this to the back of the head as well, back through that same stitch which this long end has come from. And then now you should have a nose for your goblin. So what we're going to do is we're just going to knot these to make sure that the nose doesn't come off. I like to double knot just to make sure there's no chance of it coming off. Just like that. Then we'll grab our scissors, and what we're going to do is we're just going to cut it as close as we can without affecting the knot, just like that. You can grab the end of your needle and just push that back into the stitch, so then it hides it a bit better. There we go. Now we just need to add the ears on, so I'll show you how to add one ear, and then the other ear I'll sew on myself. So we're going to grab one of the end of the ear. I ended up grabbing the crocheted end, so you'll be able to tell because it'll be coming out of the V rather than coming out of like a knot. And then if you pick the same end as me, you need to try and find the middle, so that's going up, and then you need to try and find the middle going horizontally, which I think that is roughly the middle there. So we want to go from this stitch and go down. You want to go down to, I'd say, the last round of the single crochets. Then we're going to push that up and through up to the next round that we did. And that's how the ear will be connected on. And then what we need to do is we need to go into the double crochet that we've done. So I recommend just clipping the end of it. You don't want to go all the way through, because if not, it'll pull too much of the ear inwards. Then you poke that through, and you go through the back of the head again. Doesn't matter where you go, I just find similar points to where I've been before, so it doesn't mess up as many stitches. And then for this top one, we're just going to loop this bit through as well. Going to pull that through. Going to push it into the head. We're going to go one stitch above where we were just working, and then push it through to the back of the head where the last stitch was, where the last end came out of. I'm just going to pull that tight, and then there's your ear. What we're going to do now is we're just going to knot this twice, and we'll cut it and then push it back inside the head. I'm going to cut that, and we're just going to push it inside the back of the head again. So I'm just going to go add the other ear, and then I will be back. So I've just finished up the head. I've finished both the ears, and I'm just going to put that to the side for the moment, because we'll come back to it in about 15 minutes. So I've now just finished up the head, and we're just going to put it to the side. I'm going to let our precious goblin just hold on to it for me for a minute while we work on the body. So the next steps are the arms and the legs. I have two pre-made, so I'm just going to show you how they look. They just look like little sausages. But we can tell which one's the arm and which one's the leg, because one's shorter than the other. The legs are shorter than the arms for these. Now I'm just going to do them both as one continuation, and I'm just going to tell you when to stop for the legs, because they're both made the exact same way. So I'll just set these to one side as well. You want to grab your wool again. You want to do another magic ring, so I'll quickly just make one of those. Then we're going to do 4 single crochets into this magic ring. Now this first few rounds of this one will be very difficult, because you're going to try and fight with the wool. It will want to fling itself back up, but just make sure that you're crocheting the right way around. So we've reached our 4 there. We're going to pull that end, make sure that we've got the right tight end. We're going to pull that back through, pull that tight, and then we're going to pull that one. Right, so this 100% I could not recommend enough to use a stitch marker, because you will get confused if you don't count it. So for our first stitch, it's going to be after this little loop that we've got on the end here. I'm going to push the needle through. Try and get it to focus. We'll loop over, we'll pull through, we'll loop over, pull through 2. I'm going to do that for the entirety of this. So there's 2. It is quite difficult to get into your stitches because there's only 4 single crochets around, so they will be tighter. 3 and 4. Now, just as a bit of advice, once you reach this point, your crochet, as you can see, mine is starting to push itself inwards. So what I recommend doing is pulling those stitches and just pushing them up. Just like this. You just have to push it a bit, so then it will turn more into a point. Then we want to pull our stitch marker over into the next stitch. We're just going to go over the front 2, and we're just doing another round of single crochets. So we've got 1, and always count to yourself when you're doing this, because if not you might increase by accident. 2, 3, and 4. So that's round 2. I'm just going to loop over again. Make sure you're using the right end, because you don't want to be using the end that you've been you haven't used. I'm just going to do 4 again. If you like this kind of pattern, if you like these kinds of videos, please leave a like. I need the support at the moment to try and get this up and running, and I can make more patterns for everyone to come and view. The more likes this gets, the more chance I'll have to make more video patterns as well. I have more written ones, such as frogs, and I've got little mushroom characters that I've worked on. Right, so there's the end of round 3. Just going to go one more time round, and this should be enough rounds for the legs and the feet. But we're not going to stop here, because this is going to be we're going to teach you how to make the arm. Right, so you'll need to make 2 legs for this anyway, and this would be the point where you'd stop and you're going to cut the wool. We're not going to stop now because the arms have 1 more round, but when you make the legs, cut this end and you'll need 2 of those made up. So we're just going to yarn over to finish off these arms. Going to stick our hook into that next stitch. We're going to just do 4 more single crochets around. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the point for the arms where you need to cut the wool. You want to leave a somewhat long end. And we're just going to pull that, and we're just going to pull this out. Now, as you can see, I've messed up, so I'll just teach you, if you do mess up with the stitch marker, it'll be really difficult to pull out, and that's how you'll know you've messed up. So just find one of the lines that you've got, pull it like that. If it still doesn't work, find the next one, get your needle and just pull it back up, and then it should pull out normally. So there we go. I'm just going to go make the other leg off of camera, and then I will be back to make the body. Right, so I just finished up the other leg, so I'll just put that to the side with the rest of them, and now we're going to start work on the body. Now the body, I'd say, is somewhat easy. It just gets a bit complex when it gets to sewing. So doing another magic ring, just going to pull it through like that. Then we're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Hopefully by this point you'll all be experts by doing this, because this pattern does have a lot of single crochets. I think I've done 5 there, yeah. So we'll do one more, there's our 6th. Right, we're going to grab our stitch marker again. I'm going to get a different colour for this one because I don't need the white, and I can't remember where I've put it down. So I've just got a brown one here. So we're just going to increase all the way round for this round. Now this crochet goblin that I'm making today is actually going to be a present for someone. So when you see it, if you see it at any point after this video, it will look a lot different, but I'll try and keep as much of it the same as possible. Right, so we nearly finished this round as well. So we're going to do single crochets for the rest of this round. So watch round the stitch marker. I think this is perfect time to promote my book, which will be coming out. It's going to hold all the crochet patterns that I've been making. It's going to have 12 crochet characters for fantasy. So you've got goblins, trolls, wizards, dragonborns. There's going to be a big dragon that I'm working on. And inside is going to also have a couple of different little extras. So obviously how to make the bases. It's also going to have a couple of little buildings which I'm working on, and they're going to be included as like little extra bonuses for buying the book. The book will come out in the last week of August, so we just reached the end of this round. We're going to do single crochets for the next round as well, and the orders for the book, if you pre-order it before it comes out, I will send over a goblin or a mushroom as an extra bonus thank you. But to pre-order those, you'd have to pre-order it through my Etsy shop. I'll put a link in my bio and in the description of this video, so then you're able to access that. I would recommend pre-ordering as well, because it just helps support me more, and it allows me to work on more projects. All the money will go towards refunding my crochet. And yeah, we'll just reach the end of round 4. So now we're going to do 2 single crochets, then an invisible decrease. So we'll go 1, 2. I'll just show you how to do the invisible decrease again. So we're going to go into that back loop there, the front loop there, and the front loop of our next one. We're just going to pull through both of those and do a single crochet. So we'll do that two more single crochets, and we'll do another invisible decrease. So into them front loops, loop over, pull through, and then pull through two, just like a single crochet. We've got to do this one more time, so 1, 2, and then invisible decrease, just like that. And finally, we're just going to do 2 more rounds of single crochets. If you want to talk to me live, I'm on TikTok live at least once a week. You can pop in, have a little chat with me. I answer every question that I'm asked. I also crochet different things on live. I have a frog that I made on live. We're working on some patterns on live, and I'm getting your advice on bits and pieces. Yeah, it's a very good way to support me as well, because then I know that people are watching the stuff that I'm coming out with. If you want to follow my TikTok, it is just Nation of Crochet. I also have a website. It's very, very under development at the moment. It's on my Instagram. I got a link to it there. I haven't got a URL to it yet, so I'm waiting until I gain a bit of money, and then I'll be able to put a URL in. Another way to support me is through my Patreon. It's like £2 a month, and you get access to a lot of my patterns and a lot of things that I've exclusive content, stuff that I've taken photos of. There's a lot on there. Right, we've now reached the last round, so we're just going to pull that, and we're going to grab our scissors, and we're just going to cut quite a long end for this one. So there we go, and we'll just pull the stitch through, and we're just going to pull our little stitch marker out. So now we've got the body. I'm just going to grab some stuffing and we'll sew it together. Right, so now we're just going to thread the other end, just like that, and grab our goblin back. And I like to go where the ears are. This stage really depends on the person, because I sew this differently to how I've seen other people do this. But I go round in an anti-clockwise pattern, and I slowly start feeding it round, and you'll see, because we're in one round at the moment, I'm going to switch rounds once I get halfway across. But we just need to keep on eyeballing as we go around, just to make sure everything's where we want it to be. This step does take a little bit of practice to get right. Like, the body for me is in the perfect position. It's exactly where I want it. I just need to pull it round a bit more. And the best way to do that is just going a bit wider, grabbing your stitch, pulling it, and then this is where you'll see I start going into the round below it, because I don't want to accidentally bring the background too much. Right, so here's the body. We're just going to stuff it at this point, because we don't want to go too far around that we can't reach the stuffing anymore. So, we'll just grab our stuffing. I'm just going to stuff that in there. It should be a bit easier than the head to stuff this if you've done it where I have. There we go. And the needle fell off, so I'm just going to readjust it. There we go. So now we just need to sew the back of the head. Shouldn't take too long to do. Now, I know a lot of people probably will turn away from my patterns because the amount of sewing that you got to do, but I promise you it's worth it because you can slowly see the body makeup. There we go, and I've on the final one, so I'm just going to poke it through the top of the head again. And I'll just check that that body is exactly where I want it to be. I think so, I think that's right. Perfect. So now we just need to tighten these pieces together, knot them together. I'm going to do it twice just to make sure that it's secure. Then we're going to grab our scissors, we're just going to cut the top there. And we're just going to push it down with our needle. It might take a bit of effort, sorry. Because I went right through the top of the head. And if you pulled it tight enough, there's nothing that's going to come back through there, but there we go. So, now we need to add the arms and the legs. I'll show you how to add on one arm and one leg. Now, remember that the leg is shorter than the arm, so we'll start with the arm, put them up against each other, see which one's shorter, which one's taller, and then we'll use that. So we need to grab the inside end, we'll pull that through, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go straight across to the other side. So we need to go to the top of it and across, just like that. And then we're just going to loop this other end. We're going to go through. I'm just going to loop through like that. And then for this end, we want to catch, sorry, bear with me. We want to catch these two. And we want to put our hook all the way through. Then we're just going to do the same this side and push through to where the other end was put. Just like that. And the arm is on. Look at that. You can see the goblins really coming together now. So we're just going to sew this one. We're just going to knot this one, sorry. And then I'll teach you how to do a leg, and then I'll do the other two off of camera, and we'll make the shorts. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much. Leave like a picture of a car. There you go. Leave a car emoji in the description if you have made it this far. That one did not stitch right, so I'm just going to cut that a bit. It won't fall off because I have already double knotted it. It just doesn't push in correctly. There we go. And then we're just going to get our foot. And we're going to grab our needle, the inside end again. We'll go for this end, this side. So this one we just want to push through into the belly somewhere. And we're going from just the end of the magic ring. And then we're going to thread the other end just like this. Oh, not just like that. We're going to thread the other end just like this. then we're going to go, so that's where our stitch that we've just gone into is. We're going to go the two below it, just like that. And then we're going to go into the stitch here, that one. And then we're going to go into this stitch here, and we're going to go across the leg. So we're going to go into basically the one up from there. I'm going to go across, push through, just like that. This one should be roughly the stitch next to it again. And then we'll pull that up, and we're just going to go back into that original stitch that we started on. So we just need to loop that through, push down, push through, like that, pull that through, and then we're going to push back up into that stitch, and we're going to go up through the belly. And then that's how you add the feet. I've got one on now. So I'm just going to double knot and cut it loose. Cut it off, sorry. 1, 2. We're going to grab our scissors, just cut that bit, and push that in place. Perfect. So now we've got the arms and the legs, well, the arm and the leg on. So I'm just going to add the other ones on, and I will be back in a couple of minutes. Right, so I've just finished up the other arm and leg, so we're now going to start on the shorts. So for this we need to use our brown wool, or you can use whatever colour you want. I just recommend brown because it's the easiest to work with for this bit. So what we're going to do is we need to make another slip stitch. So I'm just going to get the pattern up on my phone. So we need to loop over, make the little X again, and we're going to fold it through. I'm doing this the wrong side. I'll do it the side that I just showed you. So what we need, so for this pattern we're going to use brown. So I've just finished off adding the arms and legs to the little goblin. So now we're going to use our brown wool to make his shorts. So we need to get our end for a brown wool. We're going to make a slip stitch. So how we're going to do that, we just loop it over our finger again, hold it in place, use the long end and pull through. So we're just going to move our ball of wool to the side again. I'm going to put it by my side, and I recommend you doing that too. Then we're going to get our hook, we're going to use the long end to pull it tighter, and we're just going to chain 14. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There we go. Now I know this may look long, but when it's put together it will be actually a lot shorter than you'd expect. So then I do this unique way of making a circle. So what I do is I go into this end V, I go into that one there, that top stitch, this one. I'm just going to push that in, and then we're going to do a single crochet as if we're doing a normal round. Just like that. We'll pull through, and then what I like to do is, I just go into the next stitch into the same one, so it'll be the bottom one now, and I just single crochet all the way around in that bottom loop. So on this V it's going to be that one there. I'm just going to do that all the way around, And that should be a total of 14 single crochets. If you have any ideas for a name for this guy, please let me know in the comments below, because any name's a good name. And I'm not very good at naming characters. Right, so we're nearly there, we're in the last few stitches. And then we're just going to count round just to make sure we have done 14, because if it's not 14, the next few steps won't work. And then that one is our last one. Maybe a bit confusing because there's one stitch that looks like it might be part, but it also looks like it might be part of the single crochets. It is part of the decrease, it is part of the chains that we've made. Right, so let's count it round. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So now what we need to do is just go single crochet round. It's going to be a bit more like a magic ring again now, just with a hole going through it. And this is how I make all the shorts for the characters as well. I just have different varying sizes. Right, so now we've reached the end of that round. For the next round, we need to single crochet 5. This is where we're going to connect up the trousers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then for this next one, we're going to go into the 2 stitches. We're going to loop over, and then the way you're going to find this is it's the last single crochet you made in the last round, and you can work that out by counting back 5, and then it's the 6th stitch that you see. You're just going to put your crochet hook through that as well, then you're going to loop over, pull that through, and then loop over and pull through all 3, just like that. And that should make a little hole for 1 foot. Now we're going to do that again with the 2 stitches next to it. So we go in, we loop over, go into the next 2 stitches in front of us, we loop over, we pull through, and we're going to loop over and pull through all. And then finally for these shorts, we're just going to single crochet 2, and we'll cut the end and we'll sew them onto the body. There we go, we're just going to pull that like that, and then we've got the little shorts for our goblin. Now to put these on, you literally have to put them on like shorts. You've got to feed them through the legs. It might take a bit of squeeze to get them through, but I'd recommend going one leg and then the second leg, rather than trying to do 2 at once. As you can see, I'm having a bit of a struggle trying to get them through, but they will go. Then we just need to fold the tops up, because when you pull it through, it won't pull through exactly right. So you need to just kind of hoist them round until they look about right. Like that. So now we just need to sew them onto the body. And for that we're going to grab the top end. It should be the shorter one. I'm just going to poke that through. And how we're going to do this is we're just going to go into the next stitch. We're trying to pull it up a tiny bit more by going up, and then that one can just poke through the side of the body up there. And we're going to do a couple of different stitches around with the long end that we just cut for the trousers. So we're just going to feed that back through like that. Going to feed that in there, push it up like that. Going to push that up and through just like that. Going to do that again. Pull it up into the next stitch. And this should be pulling the shorts up slightly at least. Round like that. And then once you reach underneath the arm, you can just push it through and push it so it goes through the hole that you made. After this, we're just going to tighten the knot again and sew it and cut it and push it into the body. Grab our scissors. Going to cut that end then and feed it in. I gave it a bit of a longer end on that just in case, because these trousers sometimes aren't very sturdy. Right, so that is our goblin. We haven't got much else to make apart from the base. If you want to stop here, you can. There's a lot more customization you can give, like I've given that one a bottle cap and a little shield. But yeah, for watching this, please like, and I hope you enjoyed making this with me. I'll see you again soon. I'll let the goblin say goodbye.